Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Faris. I'm from M4CS 112-4A, and this is my video presentation of Eco 162 Microeconomics. Our title would be the demand and supply of medical glove. As for my presentation, I will be present about the introduction of our report and also the summary of our article. As for the introduction, the purpose of the report is to investigate the microeconomic issue, which is demand and supply of the medical glove during coronavirus pandemic, which also known as COVID-19. The report will also be discussing about the relation between the issue and the chapter 2, which is demand and supply in the subject of Eco 162. During this difficult situation, the economy really got affected by the pandemic, and many industries in the economy suffered a very bad loss. However, it is a good news for the medical glove industry, and they gain profit from day to day during this pandemic. Based on our article, the Bloomberg Business Week, they interviewed the founder of the biggest company in the world that produce the medical glove, that is Top Glove Corporation Berhad. It is also well known in Malaysia. The healthcare industry in any case has been attracting sustainable demand for protective medical supply. This report will also explain how this industry has made a good gain and managed the demand from the entire world during this pandemic issue, while the other industry suffered loss in their business. Now, based on our article, as we all know, the new coronavirus came to global attention at the end of January. The founder of the well-known glove company, Lim Wei Chai, has said, "Pandemic are good for business. SARS, H1N1, bird flu, swine flu. There was a big surge in orders and demand." Based on the article, Malaysia is the world's largest source of medical glove with a market share of 65%. There are a dozen of companies, most clustered in industrial cities near Kuala Lumpur, which makes over 200 billion units of pair of gloves annually, which soon to be exported to the hospital and doctor's office all over the world. However, in these previous events would make the expansion in this industry look modest. For example, in 2019, Malaysia has exported about 182 billion glove pieces, accounting for 4.31 billion in revenue, while for this year has yet to end. The figure could go as high as 240 billion pieces, according to the Malaysian Rubber Glove Manufacturers Association. This situation have made the glove company one of the few bright spots in the country economy, with the investors driving up to Top Glove's share almost 45% since the start of 2020. Lastly, Top Glove, the crisis is necessitating other compromises. With international travel largely halted, they cannot seem to hire new workers overseas and are currently trying to find local recruits to fill the gap as it boosts production. Will they be able to overcome the crisis, or will COVID-19 be cured by then?
Classification of goods and service of medical gloves. In conventional perspective, medical gloves can be categorized as an economic goods. Economic goods can be defined as goods where supply is limited and require costs either to produce or to purchase them. In this case, medical gloves have been really demanded by the people, especially hospital staff, for they are protected during the positive case of COVID-19. The supplier also had a tough time during early stage of pandemic to supply the medical glove. In Islamic perspective, medical glove can be categorized as daruriyat, which is necessary goods, which comprises of basic necessity goods. In this situation, medical gloves is a basic and important protection for everyone, especially the frontliner, as they are one of personal protection equipment (PPE).
Okay, I will explain about demand of medical gloves. Basically, demand of medical gloves is defined as the ability and willingness to buy specific quantities of medical gloves in a given period of time in a particular price. The law of the demand states that there is an inverse or negative relationship between the price of a goods and the quantity demanded. Besides, this law only in lines before but not during the COVID-19 pandemic happened. Okay, first I will explain about the change in quantity demanded, which is before the pandemic happened. Before the pandemic COVID-19 happened, the quantity demanded of medical gloves were related with the price of a product change. Based of the graph, it shows a movement along the same demand curve, either from A to B or B to A. From A to B, it shows a downward movement, or we call as expansion. It happened when the price decreased from point price A to price B, and it caused the increasing in quantity demanded, which is from quantity A to quantity B. When from B to A, it shows an upward movement or contraction, and it happened when the price increased from point price B to price A, and it caused the decreasing in quantity demanded, which is from quantity B to quantity A. It all occurs when price of a product change. Besides, less importance about the use of medical gloves as the protection in society during the before the pandemic happened. Okay, next is change in demand, which is happened during the pandemic. After the pandemic of COVID-19 happened, the change in demand of medical gloves were related with other factors, while price is constant. Based on the graph, it shows a shift of demand curve to the right or to the left. When there is increase in demand, the demand curve will shift to the right, which is from curve D to curve D1, and cause the increasing in quantity demanded, which is from quantity to quantity 1. When there is decrease in demand, the demand curve will shift to the left, which is from curve D to curve D2, and it causes the decreasing in quantity demanded, which is from point Q to Q2. It all occurs when there a change in other factors, while price is constant. Besides, the increasing of consumption of medical gloves as protection or PPE in society and for the frontliners to manage their work.
Determinants of demand in medical gloves. First, population or number of buyers. It explains the more the buyers due to the increased use of medical gloves, the higher the demand for the product. Thus, the demand will increase. Second, pandemic outbreaks. It explains during the pandemic outbreaks, such as coronavirus, the higher the demand of medical gloves, especially for the frontliner as their PPE.
Supply of medical gloves is defined as the ability and willingness to sell produce the medical gloves in a given period of time at a particular price. The law of supply states that there is a positive or direct relationship between the price of good and quantity supplies. Now, the change in the quality supply refers to the quantity supplied of medical gloves were related with the price of a product change. Based on the figure 6, it shows a movement along the same supply curve either from point A to B or from point A to C. From A to B, it shows an upward movement or we call as expansions. It happened when the price increased P to P1 and caused the increasing in quantity demanded Q to Q1, while from A to C shows a downward movement or contractions, and it happened when the price increased to P to P2 and caused in the increasing in quantity demand Q to Q2. It all occurs when price of a product change besides less importance about the use of medical glove as protections. Okay, now change in supply. The change in supply of medical gloves were related with other factors while price is constant. Based on the figure 7, it shows a shift of demand curve to the right or to the left. When there is increase in supply, the supply curve will shift to the right as to S1. The supply curve will shift to the left S to S2 and cause the decreasing in quantity supplied Q to Q2. It all occurs when there are changes in other factors while price is constant. Besides, the increasing of consumption of medical gloves as protection or PPE in society and the frontliners.
Determinants of supply in medical gloves. First, producer's objective. If producer's objective is to increase the sales of medical gloves during this pandemic, the supply of product will be increased. Second, number of sellers in the market. It explains the more the sellers in the market selling the medical glove, especially in Europe and American market, the higher the supply of the product. As the conclusions, the needs of rubber glove had increased among all people around the world, and it been responsible for all the producer to produce more of this glove, as it important to reduce the spread of this pandemic, as it need the most. As the main company, they can increase their benefits from rising demand from customers. This pandemic crisis would give a lot of advantage for economy and profit since the foreigner had really need this thing. Then the producer need to improve the quality of the glove so it can long last within one day. The amount of glove stock also need to be increased as the increasing of the demand to fulfill the need.